Hello, I am Reverend Irene Smith, and I'd like to welcome you to Generationally Speaking. Here at the table, we come and we discuss life issues, no matter what they might be. As we sit at the table with each generation, we all learn, we all grow, we all are inspired.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Generationally Speaking. Hello, I am Reverend Irene Smith, and I want to welcome you to Generationally Speaking. It is at the table of discernment where we sit together with our elders who have already paved the way for us, as we sit at the table with those millennials who are living through this technological era, and we hear their journey, and as we talk to our younger children who share with us their aspirations for the future. When we sit at the table together, we learn from each other, we grow from each other, we become inspired for each other, and guess what? We also celebrate each other. Well, I am excited because it is Women's History Month, and for women, we don't celebrate ourselves enough. We are always taking a seat on the back burner. We are always pushing somebody else forward. We're always saying, no, I don't have anything to celebrate, but trust me, all of us have a reason to celebrate. And so I am excited today to welcome to Generationally Speaking, Fong Lam, and joining her is her middle school, her former middle school counselor, Malvolia Gregory. What an exciting day and show this is to have Fong here with us, and then to have her middle school advisor. She's since retired, and so we're excited about the conversation. So let me just say to both of you ladies, welcome. I'm excited to have you here at Generationally Speaking.
Thank you, Reverend Smith.
And you can call for my young peeps, they call me Reverend Irene, whatever you got. Guess what? I'm going to answer because it's all right with me. Okay. So Fong, I'm just excited about hearing your journey. And I don't want to share right now your title and what you're doing until the end. I want to hold it. I want to hold it for my audience. But I want you to share with us those formative years back, like way back. For me, it's way back. For you, it's not too far back, but back when you were in elementary and middle school and high school. Share with us those formative years.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to speak and be on your program. This is really exciting and really rewarding stuff at the end of the day. But just a quick background about myself. I was born in Vietnam. And then I moved to the States when I was 3 years old, and I relocated with my family to Virginia, to Annandale, Alexandria area, and have always grown up in the Northern Virginia area. And I moved out to Los Angeles in 2014. In terms of my formative years, to be quite honest, I think my formative years were a little bit past or beyond grade school, middle school, and high school, because growing up, as an immigrant, like my parents really wanted me to do so well and be successful, and they wanted to sort of pave a very successful life for me, and they want stability. But the rebel child in me as a kid, I think I wasn't so interested in school. I just wanted to hang out with my friends and party and not listen to my parents. I think my formative years really came later on, probably at the end of college and the years after that. I would have to say, because I wasn't even sure what I wanted to do at a young age. I wasn't sure, there's a lot of pressure from my parents to be successful and to find stability and find a stable job. But I didn't figure that out until much later. I had different career paths I wanted to follow, but eventually landed on one I found I loved and found passionate with.
Yeah, I think that, thank you for sharing that. For so many of our listening audience, sometimes as parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles, we're always asking a young person, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be? You got to make up your mind. Well, we wish it was simply that easy. So speaking from a counselor's perspective, Mr. Gregory, what do you say about that?
Well, yes, we hear that. Speaking from a counselor and a parent's point of view, yes, that is exactly what happens. But as a counselor, I think one of the things that we really strive at is helping them to think beyond middle school, beyond high school, beyond college, to and helping them to set up some achievable goals, some things that you can do, and then to develop a healthy lifestyle, a healthy to develop some healthy life skills, because those challenges are going to come. So we just try to develop some skills to help them to negotiate those challenges.
Thank you. So, Fawn, when you think back, did you have any dreams and aspirations of really maybe what you wanted to do? Sometimes we have them, but we don't dare breathe them to other folk because they're like, why do you want to do that? Why are you sure? So tell us, did you have any dreams and aspirations as a young woman?
Yes, I did. I've always wanted to be a vet because I loved animals. I think that was my aspiration, dreams, yeah, back then when I was younger. But my parents wanted me to do something more, like a doctor, a lawyer, like accountant, and just really, follow a very traditional path. But at that age, I had different things I was interested in, but wasn't sure where to start. But yeah, in terms of my dreams and aspirations when I was a young girl, I always wanted to be a vet. But of course, I'm not a vet now, but which we'll get into later, much later, because I can't deal with blood.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, we also teach them to find their voice. Once they find their voice, and really understand what they want to do, then that's important.
Well, fantastic. So a long life journey. Whew. Sometimes it seems short, sometimes it seems so long. We learn many practical lessons from our experiences of disappointment and euphoria. When you think about that, can you share with us one or two of those life lessons that you learned that, it might help another young woman, a little girl, along life path?
Yeah, sure. I think, for me, I think it was a lot of those little pivotal moments throughout my lifetime. And it's like those little moments throughout the years and also a collection of my experience that kind of helped me shape the person I was and helped me, focus on hitting that goal that I had for myself. I think, family and friends were my support system was a massive part and integral part of who I am. I know Christina can't be here today, but like her parents were a big part of, my upbringing and a big pivotal point, a moment in my life where, they shared a lot of, great wisdom in me that I still carry on today. But yeah, I think in terms of pivotal moments, like my support system was huge, was massive for me, in getting where I am today and just being open and being curious as well.
Those pivotal life moments when you talked about you being a child of an immigrant, and for your family, education, what did education mean for them? What was that American dream for them, for their children?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, as children of immigrants, they want us to be well educated because they didn't have that opportunity back at home. So being able to finish school, being able to finish high school, to be honest, I'm the first generation in my family to even complete high school and to go to college. So that was a massive, massive success for my family, and they're very proud of me and they're very happy. So yeah, I think education was a huge part in it. But yeah. So
Ms. Gregory, from a counselor's perspective, what does the school system do to help the not only the child but the parents become more familiar or with the community and with the school system and how it works, and how do you how what does the school system do with the language gap that might be present?
Mhm. Yeah, I think our school was not unique in Northern Virginia. We were definitely a melting pot of many cultures, many different languages, many different beliefs, but there was still that unity, that oneness, in that those families still wanted the same thing that everybody else wanted. So we worked toward the education, toward including programs like English for a second language for those students. We had, and sometimes some of the families needed food, needed clothing, and we tried to provide that for them. We had parent meetings where we tried to help them to understand the system, to understand the grading system, to understand the scheduling, every little thing that would help them to be able to participate from home and to be able to make sure that they understood the same thing their children understood. As she said, the rebel in her, there was a rebel in many middle schoolers, and they would tell, their stories to their parents were a little different than the stories that there needed to be. So we tried to just make sure that all parents heard the same thing, understood the grading system, understood the programs, understood what was available to them, and opened our doors. We had an open door policy. And as she said, one of the other counselors, it was a village. So it was a big family. And we just, it was very inclusive. And we just made sure that any questions they had, we just tried to make sure we answered them. We translated lots of our flyers and everything in different languages, and just made sure that as best we could, that everybody understood just, how things worked.
Fong, we all talk about our tribe. We always talk about the circle around us. When you think back now, looking back now, even as the rebel person is there, when you think about your tribe that was there, your friends, and then the adults, what is it that you recall about that tribe, those tribal moments for you that maybe knock you back right when you were really trying to go straight left?
Yeah, a lot of those moments definitely happened. As Ms. Gregory mentioned before, obviously that transparency wasn't there as being a rebel child, and making sure your parents like really understood what we needed. But yeah, I think my tribe back then, like I think they had a lot of patience. I would say I was definitely trying their patience at that age, and I wanted to rebel like a lot of kids, and I had to get knocked down a few times. I definitely made mistakes, and I was called out by my support system, by teachers, by counselors, and you kind of need that kick in your life and like realize, okay, come on, get it together. You're making mistakes, like you don't want to go down a bad path. So definitely those moments, being able to have your tribe have a support system to even tell you, hey, this is what you're doing wrong, or hey, take a look back, look in the mirror. Having that even form of support system is so important, because I know a lot of kids may not even have that.
Yeah. So Ms. Gregory, as the young people are leaving, they've come to you from elementary, and now they're leaving you, going from middle school to high school. What are some of the lessons that you want to instill in them to help them with that transition now, as they move from being superly coddled now to being a little coddled, to like, okay, you're on your own. Not really, but
Right.
what do you do? What do you do?
But almost, because once they get to high school, then they think they know it all. So, they're very, very, you can still work with middle schoolers. That's why I love the middle school, because they had not gotten to that point yet where they really thought they knew everything, and they still listened. You could still share. But one of the main things is to build confidence, just to instill that confidence in them that you can achieve, you can reach those goals, you can do anything that you set your mind to. So building that confidence and undergirding them with the courage and the strength, as I said, to set some goals, to achieve those goals. And again, the goal is that they develop some healthy, some positive life skills. So that, once they become a young adult or become an adult, like for instance, you look back and you think, oh, okay, well, I didn't realize I was getting that at that time. Oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember they taught us about that. I remember they showed us that. So just dropping those things in there, planting those seeds, and believing that they're going to draw back and that they're going to reach in and use those things that you've taught them.
So Fong, as you entered into high school and high school, when did it kick in? Like, maybe I want to go to college. Maybe I want to make sure I got my grades straight, because that I can start to go to the college that I want to go to and just not go to a college.
Right. I think I always knew that I had to go to college. I think that was the one thing with my parents. You have to go to college. We work so hard to bring you here. You need to finish college. You need to finish school. I always knew that I had that in the back of my mind. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. So, I went to Nova for 2 years, studied business. They realized that, it wasn't for me. And then I went to George Mason afterwards to finish my bachelor's. And it wasn't until like the second year in, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. I knew that I love to travel. I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to learn about different cultures. Growing up, in the DC area, very diverse area, very diverse schools that we went to, that played a huge part in what I wanted to do. So I put it all together. I was like, oh, okay, I want to help people. So let's do global affairs, with a specialization in international development. So really being able to work very closely with, humanitarian effort work was what I really wanted to do. And I wanted to pursue that. So I did that, a few years after college, and then I moved to LA, which is a whole different story.
So that just opens us up. So now my audience has been waiting and waiting and waiting. They said, they already know she didn't become a veterinarian. They already know that. But what did she become? So tell us a little bit about your current position and how you managed to snag that role.
Oh gosh, I'm still pinching myself every day. So I mentioned I moved to Los Angeles in 2014. And then 4 years later, after a lot of hustling, I moved to LA with like $3,000 in my bank account. I was like, how am I going to make this? I'm going to make it work. So initially, the first 2 years, I worked within like a nonprofit organization doing a lot of fundraising. And then I was like, I wasn't making enough money and I kind of lost the passion a little bit. And so I moved into a localization company. So we work directly with Netflix. And from there, I worked there for 2 years and then transitioned over to Netflix as a contractor and was able to secure a full-time job at Netflix, working as a dubbing title manager, which is my current role. And it's funny because some of my family still don't understand what I do. But so imagine like if you were to, get on Netflix, log on Netflix and turn on a movie like Gray Man, for example, and you have the option to select a language for the audio language. And so let's say you select Spanish and you see Ryan Gosling speaking Spanish on screen. So I'm actually part of that process. So what I do is we work with a lot of studios who are in territory. Let's say we go to Mexico or we go to Spain. We like, hey, there's a movie coming out. You want to dub this. So hire voice talent, directors, adapters and mixers to recreate that film in a different language, but also retaining the same creative intent. So once that's completed, it goes back to our system and it goes through our QC pipeline and then eventually goes up to service.
So I like what you said, that when you first moved out, you had a limited amount of cash and you took a job while you were in that early stage of moving to where you really wanted to be. What did you tell yourself and what did you keep doing to make sure that you were eventually going to get yourself in that path where you wanted to be?
That's a great question. Honestly, I I was honestly still a bit lost in terms of what I want to do. Like I knew I was passionate about what I was doing, but I wasn't making enough to sustain a living for myself in LA. So I had to switch it up. And during that time, I was like, you know, my career's kind of shifted, and I realized I was like, oh, this is really fun. Like I enjoy doing dubbing. I enjoy doing these things. So, you know, with everything in my career, even though I wanted to work within, you know, humanitarian effort work, things shift just like life evolves. Your careers, your dreams, your aspirations are constantly changing. And I recognize that it's okay. It's all right, because, you know, maybe 10 years from now, I could be going back to, you know, nonprofit work. Who knows? But yeah, that it was a struggle getting where I am, but I'm glad I gone through it, because I learned so much about myself and so much about the process.
And when you look around the industry and you see others, do you see women in a prominent role in these positions?
You know, I'm very fortunate to work with an organization like Netflix, as there are a lot of women and very diverse women on my team and within the organization itself. But of course, there's still so much work to do constantly. There's still so much work to do. But yeah, there are, fortunately, at least at Netflix, there are a lot of women who are at the top, who are doing amazing, incredible things.
So what are your aspirations now as you move forward? Where's the next positioning place that you might want to be?
Oh, you know what? I was just contemplating that the past few months. I was like, you know, I feel like I've done a good job the past few years in my role. And, you know, again, with dreams and aspirations kind of shifting, I was like, maybe I kind of want to get into do a side project with interior designing.
Oh.
So it's a complete 360 change, but, you know, it's something I've always was interested in. It was actually one of the majors I initially chose when I was in college, but then reverted back to global affairs. But yeah, I maybe want to dabble in that a little bit and see where that takes me. But also working at Netflix and still building my career there, but exploring different passion projects on the side. So that could be a shift in maybe down, you know, a few years down the line in the future that I could be pursuing.
Well, we're excited about you having this other passion. I think it's good for everyone to have multiple streams of income, multiple streams of passions that they're pursuing. That it's okay. That it's okay. So as we are coming to a close, I'd like for you to before I ask you, I'm going to ask Ms. Gregory, if you would share with us, you know, when it comes to dreams and aspirations and reality, what do you share with students?
Know yourself,
Mhm.
know your limits. While yes, you can always work hard at reaching a higher level, I think the reality is you start where you are, and go from there, and then you get to a point like from where you talked about that euphoria. That euphoria is the excitement, the joy, the happiness. When you reach that euphoria, and just because of your success, that fuels you. That gives you a little extra energy to continue to learn, to continue to grow, and to continue to share your story. And so I think that's huge. But yeah, I would just tell others just to continue, whether it's something that you know immediately you want to do. And I think she's spoken to all of that. She's addressed all of those points. It may not be what you want to, it may not be the end result for you, but you do your best at whatever you do. You always do your best wherever you are. That's a parent too, that we always tell our children, regardless of what you're doing, do your best, and it will pay off.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
in closing, I'm going to ask them, what would you to impart, you know, some wisdom and knowledge to another young woman about, aspirations, dreams, and reality?
Yeah, I think my biggest sort of advice is that, like, if you're not sure what you want to do when you grow up, I would say don't put too much pressure on yourself. My recommendation is just enjoy your life, make friends, always be open and curious, and also be open to opportunities that present themselves. And if you have multiple interests, explore it. Set goals for yourself, achievable goals for yourself, and also at the same time, like Ms. Gregory mentioned, finding a balance. That means treating your mind and your body right. Make sure you have love and respect for yourself, like eating a balanced diet, get moving, exercise, and ultimately be hungry and be humble. That was my mentality going into Netflix and trying to get into Netflix. I was so hungry for the role, but also humble, at the same time.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
We celebrate you and your accomplishment this Women's March month. We celebrate all that you have been able to accomplish. We are so extremely proud of you, and we just wish you the very best. We look forward to that day when we see the sign also that says interior design by
Yes, thank you
That's
so
right.
much for having me. This is so great. And thank you for letting me share my story.
Thank you. And so
Thank you very much.
thank you, Ms. Gregory.
Certainly.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
And to
Thank you,
my
Ms. Gregory.
audience, I always say, be inspired. But inspiration is never enough. Inspiration requires some information. And so if you get some inspiration, if you're inspired and you get some information, you can bring about a transformation. See you next week.